I mean, you know, when you're looking at the limitations of this map, that's not too out there. MIBR, I'm curious to see if they double down on the Finker or if there's something else they thinker they should get rid of.
You can Jackie on the round trip.
Oh, it's Asa.
Oh, it's Asa, okay.
She's out of here, she's gone, and that makes sense because she can be played very, very well. You're looking at some very good plant spots. You're looking at a team in OXG that does play her. And a team that does love to play objectives. Now, it was a stat they sort of said at the start of this was they came into all of this with great plant stats. Haven't managed a single one yet, whereas they've been on the wrong end of 2.
Yeah, I was going to say MIBR managed to get 2 on the board, and of course there was not many rounds that Oxygen got to play on the attack. So they tried to go for it, just unfortunately failed to get the diffuser down on the ground. And that is something that needs to change. So last Ben's come through, the Mozzie to be removed as well. Apparently a bit too obnoxious.
I mean, it was played well. Obviously, we didn't, again, as you just said, we didn't see too much of a stretch of MIBR's defense, but they were limiting the drones. They were sort of limiting the catch, and that was precious, precious intel that is so necessary. When you have 2 great teams of gunners, when you have 2 great teams of trade players, you have to make sure that your intel is spicy hot, and if you know, always have good intel. Always have never go into a.
Intel is a very important.
Intel is such an important thing to have, but if your gameplay or your opponent's gameplay is based on trades, and you are missing numbers, you'll find those numbers, and they'll be on the trade that you didn't expect them to be on.
Yeah. And Oxygen, they just need to pay attention to a couple of these things here as they're on the defense now. Again, MIBR starting off on the attack. They need to ensure themselves that if they pick up that entry, they need to slow the game down. Do not allow MIBR to instantly pick that fight back up, take a kill or 2 out of it, and somehow come out on top of that engagement fight, even though you just started it off. And second of all, play that information game well. Try and figure out where they come from. Try and potentially even work vertically on them, because that seemed to have worked out. They struggled with some vertical takes every now and then. Round 4 in meeting, that was. The vertical control eventually led to a round win. One of the 2 that Oxygen have been able to put on the board. And I quickly wanted to highlight it's not as important yet, but the Ossa ban a little bit more, because we did see it before, where Oxygen really likes to plant around the billiards area with that Ossa. First of all, set up long angles so they can watch from a bit of safety, but also know what's going on. They can easily pop up and pick up a kill. But second of all, it is a great tool to pull up a plant with.
Lukid, he's going to see if he can try and start with the stretch and the roll of falls now with those E1Ds. I feel like they're going to be a constant between the 2 teams to try and limit some of the movements and free range attitudes that are otherwise being that consistency. There it is, almost on cue. He paused for a second and he feels that silence, and they're going to see if they can try and get the catch here onto that loose player. Lax is obviously around Sek. He's obviously around that bit of pressure where Raps is going to drive themselves too. You don't always see a player onto those windows, but it's allowed Raps to move in. Filippo sort of hits a couple of hefty hits across the bow. No, in fact, no, he's just droning. It's Lax that actually caught it and got caught himself. And no response because of that E1D.
Waiting for a second air with a potential injured to come in, as Foxay now wants to go down as well, but spots a drone, knows he has been spotted, and as Files gets off the rappel, he knows as well. Let's not push this too much now. Not yet, at least. This is getting quite closer. It's Files that falls off. Tries to play a little bit safer. Drones are still jumping around. They're trying to figure out if Foxay's still out here. And as he checks the Lamborghini, he's not able to find anybody standing right behind it. Lukid, however, spots another player. They seem to be pushing into the office side, vertical. Still thinking about it. A bit of support from the blue bar of Yoga as well.
He's putting some pressure back onto them and obviously losing that opening body. They went to see if they could do a retake, and it's the dangerousness of Coastline. That circular nature means that it's a constant sort of loop and battle, and there it is, a wide swing, but Lukid is the cover. They couldn't quite get the full scrape. Yoga at least picks up the pieces, but the second player has pulled themselves out of there, gets himself back out the door of office, makes sure that he keeps his life and mainly keeps that body balance into their favor, because there's still attention to be paid to the site. Fox, he's thinking about potentially heading out the window, but he doesn't have a clean read. Kino at least has one, though. There goes Falls. There goes that Lion outside the front door, and Lukid needs to now come and help support here and ignore that player that was loose before.
Yeah, they need to hit that side. They need to try and work for a planned situation here. But with Foxay on that top floor, it's going to be quite difficult. They need to take the kitchen out. And as Kino is starting to rotate through, he might have been spotted out by these MIBR players. He definitely has been now. And the kill is attempted, but it's failed. As retake is down onto 1 HP, Filupox will actually succeed. They now are going to be picked up by Yoga, who's still out in the hallway, still looking through, needs to push. A wallbang is attempted, but it fails. Filupox gets the plants off, and he needs to make sure now that he lives for the end of this round, because they're in a 2-on-2 post-plant situation and they know exactly where these two players are.
Well, Filupox goes down, and at this point Fox could go for something crazy if he wants to run out for the rotate, but now it's a 1 versus 1, and there he goes. Fox picks up the kill, gets himself the triple. The second player just has to hold himself off, has a drone in pocket still, and there's going to be the bait on the play, but he can just sit and watch and swing at the right time. MIBR, they're able to just hold out once again. A similar story we saw on the first map. Plant was just well watched from the safety of security.
Yeah, very smart and secure post-plant position in that security area. Perfect line of sight onto that diffuser. And it all started off here already. Raps taking that early control. Crucial as he picks up the very first. And here it was, Yoga able to strike back, but it wasn't quite enough. And now Fox are trying to stick it. Not really in a safe position, nothing he could really do. There's no way you know how and when to challenge it as well, especially not when a drone is up there. So someone of his teammates is watching, is like, he's still defusing, still defusing, still defusing. Peak, you know, at that moment in time. And as soon as he gets off, it's like, oh, he's standing up, don't worry, you know, you don't have to swing anymore. He currently cannot do anything to you. So that single drone that he still left in pocket, perfectly used in that post-plant situation. And now MIBR again a roundup. 6 more, and they'll find themselves to continue down the lower bracket run, where they would be meeting Team Liquid later on.
I mean, I think that's the thing that hangs over this game is, obviously it goes without saying, the further in a tournament you get, theoretically, the tougher your opponents are going to be. But you also look at who they've beaten to get here. You look at the names that they've already taken. You're looking at previous hammer lifters removed off the board by MIBR. It's that sort of tricky component. No, you know, that there's always been a long period of time, and sure, Liquid came into this with a fantastic performance. They came into this with, you know, the favorite across some of their.
They definitely did. To some extent also Demon Kia, as Yoga gets the very first kill. Raps takes a small amount of damage as well, but he lives for now. On the Aqua balcony, a lot of pressure coming in early. Onto the MIBR side, Oxygen no. Oh, that's a default cam.
Oh dear.
That is very painful. They're not aware. 3 men is currently being spotted out for it. The callouts will still be coming in. Vertical knows it as well. No one is checking for this. This is a big mistake on the side of MIBR that they're not aware of. I'm not sure if it's Falls' job to go for it and they just go spawn peek before he got anything done, but Vertical picking up a kill as well. And the default cam's still up. They have no clue.
No. And that is just the power of those defaults. If they go unchecked, well, this is what happens. You get absolutely bodied. Iana, they still suffer, they finally see it, and that has that moment of, oh yeah. But they still take the fight there. Vert is able to just pop his head out and pop Luka down, and 2 kills gifted from the back of a single piece of missed utility. If we compliment having the drone in the pocket late for the hold previously, we gotta sort of, pull out the opposite side here if you've got to focus.
And this is where you flick the cams at the start of the round. You just check what you can find out. You need to make sure that you get that early information. And if you then suddenly find yourself in a way where 2 people are up on a balcony and they didn't kill the cam, make use of that. Start putting your guns into that direction. And well, Filupox, he's going off on that vertical at a very wrong time there. That is just siege timing to perfection, you can almost say. It is a proc sensor that will give away the position of Reduct. He takes it out, but Foxay with a shotgun will be quite close. Should expect him to pick up the kill of Reduct. Does eventually ascend these stairs, because I don't think Foxay is going to move out here anymore. They have those 5 men available to them. They have a 3-man advantage, so you can expend someone to just watch a staircase.
That's it. There's pings and there's a reveal of a mirror window that gets popped open, but there's still so much work to be done, and nowhere else OXG really has to be. Felipox, he's taken his drop into the showers hatch, but he's obviously isolated from his other teammate, and, well, they knew that he was there. They had the watch, they had the beat, they had the rhythm, and suddenly they now have just a little bit of cool vibes left to deal with. A flawless. Don't leave him. There you go.
I don't want to say I've already written down it was a round win after those 2 first kills came through, but I kind of did. And Oxygen, you know, on the back of that default cam, gets so much valuable information on MIBR and knew exactly that they were setting themselves up to start pushing on that balcony. And all you just need to do is just point 1 or 2 guns that direction and just hold. You know they're going to be coming from there. You can also see if there's any other pressure coming down from, you know, the hookah balcony, for example. And as there was no true pressure, means someone was out there but not directly trying to attack the site. Oxygen had a clear decision to make. And that wins them their first round. They're 3rd in the series. And Blue Bar and Sunrise will be chosen next. So we will head back towards that bottom floor. The kitchen is one that was won by Oxygen. Penthouse, no, the other way around. Kitchen was won by MIBR and Penthouse by Oxygen. That leaves us in this 3rd round now. And the bars are always a quite an interesting position to me because very often the plant comes down either on the sofa behind the bomb chassis in Sunrise, and either the other time around, as it's being highlighted by our observers, Easy and Medics, we got the EUL duo on here today.
I know.
Otherwise, it gets planted in the blue bar, or behind the blue bar, next to the 2 soft walls in this case. They haven't been reinforced. They often get opened up. They try and go for a plant. However, the big worry for that one is the holes that get created and the option to hold it from courtyard. This is a spawn pick attempt from Foxay. Is it going to be able to pick someone up? It feels like he just fell off there, and the drone will confirm that the window has been opened, so some pre-fires will be attempted. Have to be careful though, I'm not sure. No, he has impacts, not a C4 available to him. So I was going to say, have to be careful to not go too close and shoot too steep of an angle, because then he might just, you know, throw a C4 out the window.
That's it. It's plenty of times we've seen clips and highlight reels of Coastline being a fantastic place if you're a fisherman who has only packed C4s.
Still someone out there. I think it's Luca that just rotated out, but he was for a moment in reach there for a potential spawn peek on Foxay.
I think that's what MIBR is sort of aware of now. They're cautious based on how much they suffered on the opening of the previous round. Obviously, they lost an early body. They like to just try and drive themselves quite quick. They've seen and demonstrated that on the previous map on Oregon. They sort of realized, well, let's not go too slow. If we can get in, we've been able to have this ability to get these early bites at OXG, but here, Coast, very different story. In OXG, they're sort of meeting that. They're happy to say, oh, you want to fight in the opening 20? Well, we're there. And we're aware, and being able to punish 1 off the back of just that early play and then 2 off the default cam, yeah, sort of read us into our 3rd round here. And that's why MIBR, they're setting themselves up. They're being a little bit slow, a little bit more similar to their early rounds in Oregon, where they would go for a big setup, get as much intel as possible, and then try and close down with it.
Now, there's only 4 drones available in the pockets of MIBR. They still find the opening, though. Lukid is going to be able to find 1. The pressure now continues as he finds a 2nd. Vertical might be the next as he's trying to challenge the kitchen. There's currently 2 men down, running towards his way. There's 2 near the courtyard area, and we have 1 false inside the bar. He could open up theoretically with his Rotero drone, but Foxay is thinking about changing that. He's thinking about retaking the lobby area so he can stop a plant from happening if it does come through in the end here. And as the long openings get made, it's an LMG that we have talked about so much this event that just starts putting bullets down range. It's Redak that picks up 2, Vertical and Kino. And it's only up to Foxay now, left on the top floor, spots out some feet, gets the first, but he needs to find 4 more.
They're coming up the stairs right now. He slips away just before he's caught out, concerned about office, but that body behind him will have heard every single second. You can see Lukid is hot on the trail of somebody who is doing their best to survive. They get 1 more, but as I said, he was just around the corner. Another plant, another statistic, but that time they already had 4 other bodies dropped, so the round sort of ridden itself.
Yeah, the push from the kitchen came through. We saw these long angles being played out. The gunfights went into the way, into favor of MIBR, and they lock out that 2nd round. And, you know, normally overall, we would say we have to say. Coastline is an attack-sided map. Now we're quickly going to be pulling that one up again, just to double check. You never know. I forgot where it is. I'll pull it up in a second. Either way, normally it's attack-sided, but if you watch the match between, like from Empire earlier today, that one was quite defense-sided actually coming through in the end. And we don't know yet how this matchup is going to shape. It might be an attack-sided Coastline that we'll see, but it could also just be that, you know, MIBR pick up 4 rounds now, but then they start off strong with 2 in a row for defense, and that would make you wonder. Oxygen,
it make you more than wonder. I think it makes you worry.
That makes you worry a little bit if you're a fan of the North American scene.
Well, obviously, you look at how Coast sort of played itself out with this tournament itself. We've seen it from both teams a couple of times, and you know, it was the map that was taken from them versus Team 1. OXG, it was 7-8. It went all the way to the end. We've had it versus NIP, I believe, in MIBR's fight, and versus Damwon Kia, they lost it out. So I think they sort of lend into it is that it's a good OXG map, but it's not really been proven to be a good MIBR map as much as it has, and they're sort of trying to press that advantage and press that pressure because, I mean, on that exchange, Oregon was the opening there for OXG, but in their previous showdown, but then it was Banker Cafe that both went away from them. And here, there's a quick bit of pressure towards that player on the pillar inside blue. There's the E1D, there's Vertical. It's able to take care of one. The hop in on the left window gets red. They've been able to get themselves all the way behind the bar, but there's a rotation of help coming onto the blue door. There's a pickup on 1. Are they going to see if they can swing in? The drone gives a reveal and the player is caught out. No, it's 2 for Raps. Opening up and sort of eyeing up a third on the far side of the square courtyard. It is that consistent drone game that is still causing so many problems.
And look at that, there's currently 2 people that are not on the side. It's just the smoke left to actually defend the kitchen itself. The other 2 are up on that top floor and not per se playing these vertical angles. And that is actually a big worry here. Foxy opens up a little bit on that big window, is giving away his position, and Luke is well aware. He has 2 grenades in pocket, mind you. He could still use those, but instead he decides to start pressuring the site. Because they realize 1 upstairs at least. We spotted 1 around the white, and as the smoke has been tagged up quite a little bit right now, we might just as well see MIBR pull the trigger here and go for a full-on execute. Foxy has fallen back a little bit, gives away his position yet once more, makes himself known to be around those cool vibe stairs, but as he rotates around, he's desperate to try and waste as much time as he possibly can, because Kino's still alone on that site. MIBR don't know. There's 4 or 5 drones left on the clock. Oh, that's a drop, and it's a kill. Laxing with a very important one.
A minute on the clock now, and they've been able to bite themselves back just a little, but as another pulse comes through, they have a reveal on where Lax is, and they're just going to sort of fire a bit of pressure there. Doesn't move with the grenade. It's going to take the damage. The second is much closer, and he has to lean into that one. It's a triple for Raps on the backside, but it's 2 bits utility for a single kill. Fox sort of says, I'm over here, and that pulls some attention and falls away, but allows that other player on the site to put themselves in a slightly better position. Going for the stick on the diffuser, but a very well-placed smoke stops that, and there's a quad kill for Raps, 1 more, and he's on for an ace. The diffuser is going to be stuck down. Raps does the first bit of damage, goes for the follow-up, but falls. Is the final strike.
Good information coming through there from the side of MIBR. They knew there was 1 in Sunroom after the kill came through. It was a bit of a surprise. Lax dropping through that hatchy, found a kill as well, and then using these grenades to force him out. I mean, he could have cooked him perfectly, but it's a bit of a risk, right? Because if you pull that pin, you hold it in your hand, and you get swung by that DMR, you might just as well lose your life. Just toss him underneath the feet. He needs to move at some point then. And that's exactly what happened. After that, executing onto the side, getting Kino, getting the plant, and MIBR currently up 1-3. Now attacking the hookah side.
OXG. Now, so far, they've only been able to hold on to Penthouse once. And it was well put together. I mean, it was flawless, and it was built on a couple of mistakes off the back of MIBR, but they haven't been able to have that safety, that comfort of not being entirely hounded, watched, and sort of hunted down by the MIBR players.
For sure. MIBR constantly on their tails on the side of Oxygen, except for that one round where the default cam was up. That was when the information was truly carrying Oxygen across the finish line there. Not as in carrying them, but basically shooting them across it from the start, right? I mean, they got those 2 early kills. At that moment in time, MIBR crippled already quite a little bit here. Weren't quite able to fight back. Of course, the entry that they had before that as well. So, you know, at that moment in time, you're just in a 2v5 situation for Oxygen. They closed that one off with a flawless, and that's the drone that got the ping before there, in Sunroom, in the bookshelf. You might have just seen it being highlighted by red right here, but as Vertical goes for a spawn pick, he misses the opportunity just barely as they're prone outside. I'm not quite sure if he has a vault prompt. He might be trying to go for it if he knows that they're out there.
I think it'd be pretty dangerous. The rappel on the far side will start to pull its way up. They'll have more than an awareness of the pressure that could come out of these windows. As I said, MIBR sort of learned how to hold themselves in the engagement, and Raps takes Fox and pulls him out of the round. The E1D again limits that trade game, and that is such a big blow. It's the important factor we talked about before, where both teams would frequently lean in to getting revenge, getting a response, and sort of making a statement. But here the only one is that silencing echo across the sky of the E1D Pulse. Yoga, he's going a bit wider here. Buried himself inside the bar to see if there's anyone in the kitchen he can cook up, but another hold, another silence, and that player has to get out of there because he knows it's a cost of being pinned or having your life pulled away from you. The swing on the door nets Yoga. A bit of a response to revenge, and there's a take on the Selma, but now he's a little bit isolated because he knows there's no way out of here, so he needs to just try and keep fighting, but Redux
shot
takes his head off, and it just keeps the pressure hot.
With that, the man advantage stays into the hands of MIBR after they just managed to find it back. And still, we see some people offside. Laxing is rotating around, is headed towards the white stairs, but he gets spotted out. Suddenly, he is now stuck. He rotates back through, gets spotted yet once again, tries and retakes the fight as he wants to push back into security, but that will be a chase that comes through, and Redux finds him as well. The LMG is bringing him many kills at this given moment, and it's only 2 players left on the side of Oxygen. MIBR are looking to find a 4th round here. There's a minute left on the clock. There's plenty of time. Raps seems to be aware of a player out here on the Cool Vibe stairs. Pre-fires are coming through as well from the balcony, and with that, that is the 2 positions that they have to play. The bomb chassis and the Cool Vibe stairs. But that makes sure that if a aquaplan would come through, nothing they can do. If a push comes through or one of them falls, which is not the case right now, as Kino picks at the very first, but instantly gets traded out. It's only the player right behind the shield, Vertical, that needs to try and hold them off.
Vert is holding down at the bottom of Cool Vibes and gives a pretty hefty check there onto the door, finds a second with a huge swing, but it's Felipox to ensure that MIBR keep that round in their favor once again. It's another now with, I believe that was Uka on the last swing round, and that's sort of the situation here where OXG are trying everything, and the only one that they've been able to take was Penthouse. But whether they go back in now, they are, as their sort of last Hail Mary, because it wasn't where they decided to go once it was reopened. They thought they might be able to try and put some momentum elsewhere, and that's the sort of worry, is there's nothing to them, based on not insta-picking it as soon as it was available before, that feels 100% secure.
And I think that is due to the fact that the default cam, the spawn peak and the 2 kills from that default cam, that was this side. So it's not necessarily your hold that nets you a win. It is the individual plays from your teammates and the fact that MIBR made a massive mistake by leaving the default cam up, that you were able to walk away with that round. Otherwise, we might have seen an execute, we might have seen an attempt at them trying to dissect your setup, but neither of those happened. And this Oxygen right now, it is the only side we won. We might be able to recreate some of the success here. Let's just try it at this point, because all the other sides we haven't been able to find any success so far.
Well, Reduct, he's finding his way back onto the backside here, trying to instantly lean into the pressure that's still being set up, but leaving some ADS for Yoga to try and bury himself in. Gino was a bit of a factor here. He was able to lock off a couple of kills inside the site, but also, more importantly, the security of the site itself. There was never any intense direct pressure underneath him for a while. He was free to sort of sit on the mirror window or hopped up on the couch, and that ominousness, that glare that comes from the other side of a mirror window, whether it's occupied or not and you don't know, it's a concern. And That's where they might see if they can go for a bit of a wider swing here. Opening up inside VIP to potentially pop some pressure onto 90.
MIBR haven't taken any of these early losses yet. They've learned from their mistakes, which is do not die because of a default cam still being up. Bit of an issue, however, though, is these pesky little mute jammers that stop these drones from pushing through, and as long openings will be made, it's a mirror window that gets removed. Suddenly there is this little opening inside the 90. It's going to be tougher for Oxygen to try and hold off, and a potential plant right behind the bed is maybe what they're trying to eye on here on the side of MIBR. You have to be careful though. C4's still in pocket. Foxe still below. Blacksing has one available as well, just like Kino. So as rotations are being opened up, they have the opportunity to start pushing through. When they do open up that softball, that is all they need to get a safe spot to plant.
As I said, still hopped up onto that sofa, still has some swing potential and safety. Yoga takes the head off a player on the far side of the screen, and well, that's the diffuser cold as well. MIBR, they're going to have to get the drones rolling and see if they can try and piece together some information and pick apart maybe some holds. Raps, he's inside the shower. He was here a lot earlier, but with a lot less working for MIBR at this point, so he's free to do a little bit more with his time. He's trying to see if he can cook a grenade, put some pressure onto the back line, but as Lax moves in to offer some support, they sort of get the read that the pressure's coming quite direct this time round. It's a different take and a different approach.
Seems like they indeed want to get rid of the mirror player. This grenade to come through, but not cooked properly enough. And now they need to find a way in to go for a plant. And it seems like it will be the repel from the window. They need to be careful, though. C4's from below is the big threat. That's the first, but it was baited. They have a second player that could go in deep right here. Redux gets the very first kill. Foxe will be picked up as well. That's a double. And suddenly the bottom floor is under control. They now need to get someone on that diffuser to make sure the plant comes through. And as the mirror is still on top of the couch right there, he is a big problem. There's also one in VIP, and Rita comes up from the back. It's only up to vertical now, and he is, I believe, yes, behind the shield, inside the theater. The time will soon run out, and the angles they should be watched. The cover should be there. It is. Redux pushes them through, and it's a 5-1 here for MIBR.
Once again, as we had a story happen a couple of times on Oregon, MIBR had very little to work with. They'd obviously lost the body. It still felt like big portions of OXG's hold was in place. But that little moment there, the double kill underneath, getting the cover and the pickup on the next player, and this engagement as well, and just those ones, it's that consistent problem MIBR pose. OXG is... they're firing so well right now. They seemingly keep having the upper hand in engagements. They keep having just that little bit extra. And even when everything's sort of blowing against them, the ability to shoot straight and keep a cool head with 15 seconds, a cold diffuser and 2 less bodies.
And now we're 2 rounds away of eliminating the second North American team. Of course, they came into these last couple of days with the most teams still left standing. 4 NA teams, 3 out of LATAM and 1 in EU. Of course, APAC being eliminated yesterday when both Damwon, Kia and Elevate were unable to win their matches. Elevate, however, they did take a kill record with them. And I think they'll be happy with that one. Of course, they wanted to proceed, but you cannot have everything in life. Just like Oxygen is currently not having the best fun in this matchup here. 1-5. The small part about it is, though, they are allowed to head to the attack. They have 2 LMGs currently on the board and are looking to make some good use of it. The Finka and the Zofia will be brought. Now the big question will be, is that going to be the big difference maker here? Are they able to gun down MIBR, who have been so sharp so far? Are the LMGs going to make the difference? I doubt it's just going to be that. They're going to have to bring way more than that. And the information game is part of that. That's a missed drone. It's going to be a run out, but on the wrong side. Redux gets his own Banshee. Somehow just escapes with his life. But if he played that a little bit more patiently, he might have been able to get the entry kill there for the side of MIBR.
Took a gamble, took a risk, not paid off there, but at least he's able to slink his way out. It was almost a freebie. And Fleepox is actually the first to fall in the engagement. Yoga watching the big double door. Reduct keeping himself uninjured after his gamble, but still limping. Progress towards the fight here. another attempt at a player outside, but essentially falls with a tap there onto Kino on the other side as the rotation here has already come through. Lucad's watching on this big white window.
Second arrow was afraid that we might have seen a run out on the player who was still up on that rappel. I believe it was Lexing as he was droning out from the white stairs window, but he lived for now. When it seems like Oxygen are eyeing up a default bar take. They just want to get right behind the B-bomb chassis, go for that plant, and toss everything in they have. The big issue though, no verticality. That means that these players off the side of MIBR are freely allowed to play wherever they want. As Foxy with that diffuser currently put himself on top of that B window, he rotates back out as well. It seems like Laxing is tasked with taking that top floor under control. Will do so by shooting 2 of these impacts right behind the bar. And that means that that part is not going to be as playable as it was going to be otherwise. But it doesn't mean the end of it. Gotta be aware as well. Reduct ready to go for a run out. So as soon as Yoga makes his position known, as Fox is going for the plant, we might see the aggression coming down right now on MIBR.
Canisters pop. Vert's trying to watch the door. Locks off one. There's a second, and there's Yoga on the window. Keeps control of Blue. The 4 versus 2, but they haven't been able to get the stick yet as Lucid is forced out above. Fox is going to go for it again. And now falls. He goes for the second smoke throw, and that one isn't quite going to get the full connect. Fox sticks it, and he's A-OK and out of there. Yoga with one more. Leaves just Lucid above to see if he can try and put MIBR onto map point. It's a position that MIBR have put OXG in so many times of this 1 versus X, but with time ticking away and a full awareness on the player, finds the first, pulls himself away, and there's a pick back up thanks to the Finker. And well, there's a bit of a rarely seen gun utilized for success.
Love you.
The hop out might come, but it doesn't go very further. 5-2.
I'm not going to say that the LMGs were the difference maker here because they're absolutely not. It was Oxygen that eyed on that plant. They wanted to take the bar under control, and MIBR, they fell back. They weren't quite as aggressive inside that bar as they could have been. Now, that might be due to the many grenades that they could have been bringing and could have been tossing in at the end there. The opening made above the bar, I mean, Lexing did not have the right angle to truly be a big nuisance on the players right behind it, I would assume. But they were able to get the plant in. And the smoke canisters not quite connecting, not quite in the right place to stop this from happening, to make sure that MIBR had a fighting chance. And the big worry, however, is that when they did concede the sunrise bar, all the angles were already set up. There was no way you were going to get back into that without being shut down instantly. And Oxygen made perfect use of that. They made sure they could go for a plant. They had 3 members left to go for cover whilst the plant was going down by the hands of Foxy. And that puts them on to 2-5 now. They need to start that comeback. They cannot afford to lose 2 rounds. 1 they can just do, but after that everything needs to be flawless. 2, and the game is over and you're going back home.
MIBR, they're giving themselves a bit of a stretch here. They obviously have the chance to utilize the space. We talk about what Oryx can do, but with the sort of play around Melusi, with the play around Legion and Wamai, it's a really mobile setup they have here. It's sure a couple of proxies, well, in a couple of different pockets, but it's something where they can sort of pick themselves up and try and reposition a defense. That consistent renewal is an aspect of gameplay where there isn't actually too much hefty furniture, a shield and a bulletproof. And those proxies, and outside of that, it's a team that really could just play themselves in a lot of different places and work on the background of, as I said, the only really placed utility of Melusi.
That's it. Just that early aggression is what could have cost them a free kill here the last time around, and this time it's Hall of Fame that quickly is taken under control. On the side of Oxygen, the drone is leading in, is making sure that this whole penthouse area has been cleared out. The player's still close around the corner. It's actually Vertical that opens up right above Fowls. Is not going to be trying to eye up for a kill potential there, and as Fowls is quickly rotating out, this might become of an issue. As soon as you start opening up everything on that side, every flooring there is no many safe spaces left for those defenders, and they'll be forced to play exteriorly. But that is exactly how Oxygen were able to punish MIBR when they were at the bar earlier on, because they couldn't get back in. The plans was going down, a retake was off the charts. It's Lucid right now with a very big flank to come through, but he has been spotted by that drone. Needs to be very careful. He's going to get swung on, but he gets the first kill anyway. There's a second to come through. It's a Farmers, and he gets it as well. Lucid with a double, and retake will find one as well as he moves up those white stairs. It's Yoga that gets stacked up quite a bit as well, and Foxy, well, he has no clue what just happened. He's not even in any of the combat that just went through.
Oh, it's a disaster there that has happened out for OXG. You could see the player pulled up on the backside of that push on the bottom of white at the same second. It was some support. And Luca just dug himself in for as long as possible. And now, Fox and Yoga, they are all that is left here to see if they can try and stop it becoming map and series point. The spray through in a freebie, as Raps tries to get out of there before the damage and destruction comes through. Still 2 frag grenades in pocket and a drone that starts its lonely roll out towards. And you look at the damage that's done to Reduct, that works a bit in their favor because it just takes the side of a grenade to be able to get that catch rather than the full precision that might otherwise be needed. And I'm not sure how many kicks Yoga has back up, but they might be able to stim themselves a little bit closer. There's those proxies. There's that mobile defense, and there's the last of the stims, and now they're seeing if they can scream their way here across the side of Sunrise. Down with a little bit of width onto the corridor, but look at how MIBR have stacked up. They know where the push is coming from. They're just long-arming the smokes onto the default plant, and they have that crossfire on the other side of the shield. They're ready to swing as soon as they get the read and the beat that somebody's on the door. They go deep, and they don't lose the first, and OXG have been able to build themselves a little bit of safety. They push into the smoke, and they can't quite get the second. It is just a single player inside. Fox is going to look on either side, but it's Reduct to pop up. And it is one round that separates MIBR from taking another team's name.
Well played there by MIBR in the end. And, you know, it started off well in ambush and white. They managed to pick up 3 kills even at the start. It was Oxygen that tried to come back into it just a little bit here, and it started off with that drone, but Lucid knew there was support coming up these stairs. He picks up the first and the second, but as Laxing wanted to lean into the fight as well, Redux was able to find one. It was Oxygen. They got quite close. We have to give them that. They fought their way back through as some of the MIBR members were a little bit carelessly running, roaming, and trying to rotate around, which brought it back to that 2-on-2 situation. But as soon as the cover went down and you need to go for a plant with 2 seconds left, there is no saving that one anymore. And MIBR, they find themselves on 2-6. They've won the map 1, by the way, with a 2-7. So they are a single round away, ladies and gentlemen, before they lock off this second map and they knock out Oxygen.
It's that unfortunate moment once again where you sort of look at what OXG is struggling with. You try and piece together where these problems are having from our perspective, where we have a lot more intel but obviously a lot less skill than the players in the game itself, who are having a conversation which is tougher to do with all the pressures of the game. And there's not really a huge amount in terms of how they're going for their approaches, the takes that they're trying. It's things that we've seen work against other great teams throughout this tournament, but there's something about the movements of MIBR, that sharpness and that response to revenge that is so consistent by the Latin American team that has just kept OXG almost perpetually on the back foot. It's like having a thorn in your side and you just can't get it out. And OXG haven't been able to really find that swing, that momentum, and that confidence and cool that we know they can do. They have to find it for 4 rounds here. They have to find a way to finally thread some of this into success.
Again, in the last 6, or well, now 7 maps that MIBR has played against Oxygen, only 1 was ever won by Oxygen, as Foxy starts it off here. It is an entry kill, but they have been able to find 4 so far, and not quite been able to convert them into these kills at the end of it, or the rounds, we have to say. There is still some information coming through. Oxygen is still in a position where they could strike on 1, maybe 2 more players, and especially with VIP opening, Redux is well aware of the fact that the pressure might be coming down soon. Now, this isn't directly the site, so you can, you know, forfeit this to some extent, but you still have to be careful. There still might be a big swing in.
Well, Reduct just sees the side of a player, is able to get the drop down, and there's one more that happens on the opposite side. Lax, he's seeing if he can find Philippe, seeing if he can put some of the pressure, but it's Fox that keeps them level, keeps them still battling, still fighting. But look at MIBR, they're still leaning in to the chance at a kill here. Falls wants to go for this confrontation, and he finds it. And this is it. MIBR just keeps stepping in to awkward positions. Laxing, such a long-historied player, a mainstay of so many big stages, is all that separates OXG from their run ending and continuing for a few more rounds potentially here. The first is downed. It is a Thunderbird, and they're not moving for now. Whether they go for the pickup or not, it seems like they're just going to keep themselves cool and level pegging. He's curious about whether he's been revealed, because they'll know where the kit went down. They'll know where it is, and I think at this point they're just trying to make sure they're stacked up for the 2 versus 1, 40 seconds. And he has his sight set towards the back line of the site. There's one on the right and one at the top of Cool Vibes. The first is a pre-fire with an LMG. It's prepped and placed and peppered towards the second, but neither is giving themselves away. The canister has popped itself onto the door. They've pulled themselves back further and further. There's one more canister and a final reload, 20 seconds, and there it is on the door. And at this point, Laxing has to just tank damage. Finally has the solidity on one, has the scream through, but it's MIBR that are the team that continues the run. Both teams had a great position to get here. Both teams took some huge names and favorites out, but only one can progress to face Liquid, and it'll be another Brazilian showdown.
7-2.